This is the all-new Ariel Rideal electric commuter bike, and it retails for $999 US. And I'm about to say something that will probably shock you. I absolutely love this bike. So join me today as we take an in-depth look at this bike. I'm talking range tests, speed testing, climb tests, pros, cons, specs, everything you ever wanted to know about this electric bike. This video has it all. If you are new to the channel, welcome, I'm glad you're here. On this channel, we typically focus on mountain bikes, but I do have a love and appreciation for all things cycling, so make sure you subscribe because you never know what may show up on this channel. I actually reached out to Ariel Rider to possibly review one of their other electric bikes, but they didn't have one in stock at the time, and they graciously offered to send me this bike for review. I was a bit skeptical at first when they said commuter e-bike, but after some research, this thing looked pretty rad for the price. I'm not being paid, sponsored, or reading some corporate script, as you could probably figure out by the bad jokes that are coming up. Let's go ahead and jump right into the specs. It's an aluminum frame with a rigid steel fork, no cheap gimmicky suspension fork, and I'm grateful for that. This bike is offered in 3 different colors, along with a low step and high step version. I'm 6 foot tall and feel great on this high step model. Assembly was simple and straightforward. It came with instructions, tools, and I do have to mention this really nice box it shipped in. This has to be one of the sturdiest bike boxes I've ever seen. The bike weighs 51.92 pounds by my scale with no pedals. This bike did come with a set of platform pedals, but I put on my own flat pedals for testing. It has a 6-speed Shimano drivetrain with mechanical disc brakes from Tektro, rolling on 27.5-inch wheels with 1.95-inch wide anti-puncture tires, which, on my first ride, I discovered are not anti-puncture. We'll talk about that more later. On to the good stuff, it uses a 750-watt rear hub motor paired to a 48-volt, 14-amp-hour battery that is removable with a key. The battery can also be charged on or off the bike. I did notice on this particular bike the lock is on backwards, so when you turn to lock, it unlocks it, and when you turn it to unlock, it locks it. I don't know if every battery they produce is like that, but on this one, it's backwards. This setup is good for an estimated 30 to 60 mile range. The bike has 5 power assist levels, along with a twist throttle that is an absolute blast and my favorite part of this bike. The throttle is there to override pedal assist at any time, and it gives you maximum power. Other features include a headlight and taillight which can be turned on from the controller. I found the saddle to be quite comfortable, and it cleverly has a grab handle on the back to help you move this thing around. I appreciate the matching brown grips, which are also pretty comfortable. It even has a built-in bell to alert haters to your presence, or to notify other cyclists and pedestrians that you're passing. I honestly think this is a really good looking bike, especially in this black, gold, and brown color scheme. And that's enough about the specs. Are you ready to ride, Al?
I don't think so, Tim.
To get riding on this bike, simply charge the battery and power on the controller. There's no need to turn the battery on separate, which I found to be a nice feature. Pedal assist always defaults to the lowest setting, number 1, so you just use the plus button to crank up the power, and I discovered a nifty little trick. If you're in pedal assist 1 and you push the minus button again, it'll turn pedal assist completely off. To activate the throttle, simply click this red power button, then twist it and rip it. I like the addition of the kill switch because when laying the bike down, you can accidentally twist the throttle, and if it's on, you're going to watch your bike take off without you. With that brief tutorial out of the way, let's go ahead and do some testing, starting with a range test. For the range test, I decided to do it with the throttle only and no pedal assist. Since the throttle is the most draining thing to the battery, I figured this test would give us a good worst case scenario range. I also did this test on a very windy and incredibly hot summer day. The odds were stacked against the Rideal, but it accomplished an impressive 29.2 miles before the battery died on throttle only, at an average speed of 16 miles per hour. That is really impressive to me. It is therefore safe to assume if you use this only in pedal assist 1, you should easily be able to get 60 miles. For me, it's way too hot out and time consuming to do that test, yes, even on an e-bike. Let's turn things up to 11 with a speed test now. Again, using the throttle only, I did some runs up and down my street, this thing was able to hit 22 miles per hour before the motor cut out. I did the same test in pedal assist 5 and it also cut out at 22 miles per hour.
22.35.
These are technically rated to 20 miles per hour, so to get an extra 2 miles an hour out of it, I was pleased with that.
Same thing, 22, you can feel it cut off.
Let's go ahead and switch it over to a climbing test. Here is a really steep hill that I typically climb on a normal bike. I put this bike in the easiest gear on the cassette and put it in pedal assist 5 to see if I could get up this hill, and it was shockingly easy. I was afraid the motor wouldn't be powerful enough for this hill, but I was wrong. Let's go ahead and try another steep hill downtown that I often do. That was the easiest I've ever gotten up that hill too.
There you go. Oh my God.
Even Dan was blown away by its climbing abilities. So it's safe to assume that this thing will be able to climb any hill on your morning commute. With those 3 very helpful tests out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the ride impressions. From the first moment I got on this bike, I couldn't help but smile. I used the throttle on this thing probably more than the average person, but it gave me the exhilarating sensation of riding a very slow motorcycle or a very fast bicycle. I really enjoyed the smooth power delivery from this motor. I found it to be very linear and it wasn't an unsuspecting jolt of power that's going to throw you off the back of the bike. The pedal assist does have a slight delay as to be expected, but you could definitely tell a difference in each mode. Pedal Assist 1 will allow you to do most of the work and still break a sweat. I found that Pedal Assist level 2 and 3 were the most natural bike feeling, if that makes sense. It took me up to a speed that I would normally be able to achieve on an analog bike, and it didn't feel like the bike was doing all of the work. So if you do want to ride this and it feel almost like a normal, natural bike, I would suggest staying in Pedal Assist level 2 or 3. I usually skipped Pedal Assist 4 because after 3 I was like, let's just go straight up to 5, put it on max power, and go blasting down these trails. You're getting the same power as you would with the throttle, but you're also assisting the bike by pedaling, and wow, this bike is quick. It's just an unbelievable amount of fun.
You're gonna get a speeding ticket.
What surprised me the most about this bike was how solid it feels. Even at max speed, it never felt like it was going to rattle itself to death. When going over some rougher roads or on a dirt path, you can hear the battery rattling around just a little bit. But other than that, this thing was pretty silent. Typically on more inexpensive bikes, they make some suspicious noises that you typically don't want to hear. The brakes are adequate, they do a decent job, but do remind yourself you're riding a 52-pound bike at 20 plus miles per hour, so please give yourself a little extra stopping room. I ran the tires at 60 PSI for the best rolling efficiency, and for unbranded tires, they actually feel like pretty decent rubber. Not the hard plastic feel you get on some very low-end bikes. Cornering on this bike felt very composed, and it has enough traction knobs to feel stable through some gravel. As mentioned earlier in the video, on my first ride, I did get a flat in the back tire. I ended up walking about a mile to a local bike shop, and they wanted $50 to replace the tube. 50. I wasn't about to pay $50 to swap a tube, so luckily my brother came and picked me up and drove me home. Thank you, Alex, I appreciate it. I actually had a spare tube for this size tire here at home, and I can confirm it is not a fun task to take this wheel off and replace a tube, and I would probably charge someone $40 to do it. Flats happen on every bike, and I'm still not entirely sure how it happened. I checked the tire, there was no thorns or no signs of punctures on it anywhere. I noticed the flat when I was at the grocery store enjoying a cookie outside, so I like to think one of those haters from earlier slashed my tire. After putting a new tube in, I've had zero issues since. While we're talking about issues, I'll go ahead and note that after a few rides, I noticed the spokes on the rear wheel were loose. And I did snug them up trail side, and that eliminated the issue. When I got it, but I didn't. I didn't check the spoke tension out of the box, and I'm guessing 95% of you don't either. So I don't know if they came already somewhat loose. I tightened them up the best I could. I don't have a truing stand, so the wheel's a little out of true now. On a $1,000 e-bike, it's probably safe to say they don't put the best wheels on this thing. Towards the end of my testing, I decided to do some more spirited riding because I'm a fool, and the bike held up fine. I don't recommend that you ride this thing downstairs because that's not what it's designed for.
I handled it fine.
But the mountain biker in me says, this looks fun, and probably a bad idea, I guess I better do it. And before you comment, the spokes came loose before I did anything like that, but I'm sure I didn't do them any favors afterwards. So who is this bike for? Pretty much anyone that needs simple and reliable transportation, especially if you live in a large city, don't own a car, and you don't want to rely on public transportation. You know, commuters. I'm pretty sure that's the target audience. If I still worked in an office downtown and was commuting, I would totally ride this thing. I call this my I don't want to get sweat e-bike. That's hysterical. I would just use the throttle to get to work on this thing so I don't have to get all sweaty, and then pedal it home for a workout. If you do have a 30+ mile commute, the charger was actually very lightweight, so you could realistically put it in your backpack, charge it while you're at work, and then have plenty of range to get back home. Even if you don't commute to work, you're just someone that wants to be outside and have a good time on a bike, or you can't keep up with your partner who's an avid road cyclist, this thing can definitely keep up with some road bikers. I passed quite a few in my testing. This thing's just a really affordable option to get anyone amped on biking, assuming you weigh under 285 pounds. That is the payload capacity of the bike. The pro's really quick. Obviously the price point's really good, $1,000. This is one of the most value-packed e-bikes I could find at $1,000. Has a powerful motor and battery, very good range, no cheap gimmicky suspension fork, and my favorite part is the twist throttle. I would say the biggest competitor to this bike is the Rad Power Bike's Radmission, and that actually costs $1,100, but it uses a 500 watt hub motor while this has a 750 watt. So on this, you're getting more bike for less money. The value proposition here is pretty awesome. On to the cons. As I mentioned earlier, the rear spokes coming loose is a bit concerning. That is something I should have checked out of the box. I did mention these grips are pretty comfy, and they are. The only gripe I have is they're not lock-on grips. And as you can see, they kind of twist pretty easily. You know, you don't need to be twisting your hands much, but sometimes when you reposition, you can feel them move just a little bit. And I don't know if you can see that on the camera from back there, but it looks like this one's already coming unthreaded. The cable routing, it's okay. It came like this. I didn't do this. I honestly don't know if you're supposed to cut these zip ties and reroute it yourself or just leave it bundled up here like I have it here. It is routed internally on the down tube, and then all the cables are sticking out the bottom there. I noticed there wasn't much slack in the cables to rearrange the stuff on the handlebars. Another annoyance is the no quick release for the back wheel. I don't know if there's like so much torque back there that a quick release just couldn't handle the power. Hopefully you don't get a flat tire on the back, because it was definitely a pain to take that back tire off. Actually, the hardest part was getting it back in the dropouts. It just did not want to line up for some reason. I kind of had to pull the frame apart a little bit. It was definitely not easy to do it by myself. Other than those issues that I've addressed, this thing has been really good. I've logged probably close to 200 miles on this bike since having it for the last week, and I am truly impressed. I got this bike expecting it to be okay, but for $999, I'm actually kind of blown away by it. It's comfortable, it feels solid, and it's just incredibly fun to ride. Don't let bike snobs ruin your good time. Riding bikes doesn't always have to be so serious, and all I know is when I'm on this bike, I'm having a good time. Thank you so much to Ariel Rider for sending me this bike for review. This thing far exceeded my expectations, and it was some of the most fun I've had on two wheels. Hopefully I'm able to review the bike that I originally reached out for, because it's pretty insane. Oh, I'm tired of talking, and I'm pretty sure I've covered everything there is to know about this bike, but if there's anything I missed and you have a question, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. If you are new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video. It really helps the channel a lot, and the more views these videos get, the more bikes I can get in for review, and I will always give you an honest review. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate your time, and until the next one, stay rowdy within reason. My voice keeps cracking.
You sound like you're going through puberty.
I know. My voice has felt weird the last couple days, so this may not work. Do you want to just do it? No. Oh. Was that good? No?
Yes.
Are you serious or?
No, I'm joking. It was terrible.
Oh my God. Here it goes. Oh, this is going to take longer than I thought.